Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my colleague from Timmins, James Bay, made a lot of good points about this pipeline. I want to put something to the House that I don't think anyone has raised yet, and that is the financing around this, which is pretty dodgy. You have to remember that Kinder Morgan was founded by Richard Kinder, who was a senior executive of Enron. And what they did was they had to go out on the open market. They told the National Energy Board in the hearings that all the money for the project would be raised by the parent company out of Houston. And I'll make this fast, Mr. Speaker. They raised about $1.7 billion from investors. And about a year and a half ago, Richard Kinder told his shareholders he used that money to pay down debt. And then they changed the corporate structure of the organization and had Kinder Morgan Canada stand alone and not part of Kinder Morgan of Houston. I mean, they're related. It's a subsidiary. But it's a pretty clear tell that they were backing off the whole idea of building the thing. So the reason we're paying so much for an existing pipeline that was never part of the problem is that the blackmail note from Kinder Morgan falling due May 31st wasn't about getting a ransom. It was about shooting the hostage. And what they really wanted to do was get out of it and blame somebody. But our poor benighted front benches over there were terrified of a press conference on May 31st in which Kinder Morgan announced, well, the Prime Minister of Canada couldn't get it done. The Minister of Finance couldn't get it done. We had the problem of an unwilling vendor. And you know you pay through the nose when you have an unwilling vendor.
The honourable member for Timmins James Bay, in 35 seconds or less, please.
Well, I want to thank my colleague. I mean, let's be clear. When Kinder Morgan gave that ultimatum and said, if you don't give us a really safe environment, we're leaving, that meant they were leaving, because this is the potential confrontations were very clear. But what we did see was our Prime Minister jumped up and said, oh, before you go, we'll pay off all your investors to the tune of $4.5 billion. I mean, that's the best payoff. If I was the CEO, I'm sure my investors would be giving me a slap on the back for that. That's a heck of a lot of money to pay for such little effort.